For a place so sunny, you'd figure it couldn't get this dark. A city rife with urban legends, terrible tales, and infamous ghosts. With some of its stories based on true crimes, others are merely the product of overreactive imaginations. These are 8 strange and creepy places in the Los Angeles area. I'm your host, Goofball Goober. Let's get started. Number 1. Stay on Main Hotel. Now known as the Stay on Main Hotel, the Cecil Hotel is possibly the scariest place in all of Los Angeles. Built in 1927, as the years passed, more and more unsettling things occurred there, the strangest of them all happening in 2013. January 2013, a lone 21-year-old Canadian tourist named Elisa Lam checked into the hotel, only to vanish January 31st. Police authorities searched throughout the hotel with no luck. Only after several hotel guests started complaining of oddly tasting water did an employee discover what had happened. February 19th, the employee went to the roof to check the 4 water tanks of the hotel, only to find Lamb's body in one of them. The strangest thing of all was the elevator footage of the student the night she disappeared. While in the elevator, Lamb seemed nervous, as if she was being followed, seemingly talking to someone who wasn't there. The hotel was also home to Richard Ramirez, also known as the serial killer, the Night Stalker. He lived at the Cecil from 1984 to 1985, while he murdered several people, ultimately being convicted in 1989 for 13 murders. Allegedly, the hotel was also one of the last places Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, was seen alive. Number 2. Griffith Park. The strangeness of Griffith Park starts with its namesake. The park was named after Griffith J. Griffith. He gave Los Angeles the land for the park and cash to build its Greek theater and observatory. Not only that, he was also known to be quite the drunk, as he shot his wife. She survived, and he only had to serve 2 years for it. The land of the park, though, is said to be cursed, even before Griffith acquired it. It was owned by a Don Antonio Felice, who was supposed to give the land to his niece, Donna Petronilla, but gave it to another instead. Supposedly, she cursed it, resulting in cattle deaths and fires destroying crops. Some believe her ghost still haunts the land. The strangest legend surrounding Griffith Park is the legend of the picnic table 29. The story goes that 2 young lovers, Rand Garrett and Nancy Jeanson, were occupying themselves atop their picnic table one Halloween night in 1976, only for a tree to fall over and crush them. The tree still sits on top of the picnic table to this day. Some occasionally see the ghost of one Peg and Twizzle, an up-and-coming actress who committed suicide by jumping from the Hollywood sign in 1932 at the age of 24. Her suicide note left behind in her purse read, "I am afraid. I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain." Number 3. Queen Mary. The most famous ship on the West Coast, the Queen Mary, is a retired ocean liner, docked in Long Beach and has been since 1967. There have been a total of 49 confirmed deaths on the ship, consisting of both crew members as well as passengers. There's been several supposed ghost spottings on the ship, some not matching any logged death reports. The most famous of these is the white-dressed woman who wanders the cabins. One of the more infamous stories of the Queen Mary is that of cabin B340. B340 is the smallest room on the ship and is supposedly haunted by such a malevolent presence that it can't be rented to anyone and is sealed because of it. Today, the ship serves as a major Halloween attraction with its annual Dark Harbor tours that often involve mazes and retellings of the ship's ghost stories. Number 4. The Wonderland House. On Wonderland Avenue in Laurel Canyon lies a house that has a history of drug activity. At this Wonderland House, 4 murders occurred on July 1st, 1981. 4 were bludgeoned and killed while they slept, while one, Suzanne Lanier, survived, but left the police with little clues as to who the killer was. The police suspected one Eddie Nash, who owned a nightclub and dealt with mobs and drugs. Nash suspected that the Wonderland inhabitants stole from his house, and he wanted revenge. Police eventually set their eyes on one John Holmes, who performed in adult films under the name Johnny Wad. Around the time of the murders, Holmes was trying to handle his drug addiction, which made his life more and more difficult to handle. He was doing small crimes to get by, and led the Wonderland group to break into Nash's home. Nash and Holmes were seen hanging around at the Wonderland House. Following the robbery, Nash had Holmes beaten, and within 72 hours, the Wonderland inhabitants were dead. Authorities found Holmes's prints at the Wonderland House, leading to his arrest. Holmes, who didn't testify, was acquitted, only having to spend 110 days in jail, simply because he didn't want to cooperate with the investigation. He died 6 years later from AIDS. Nash was also tried and acquitted, only to be arrested again on charges of drug trafficking and money laundering. Authorities also believe Nash bribed a young woman on the jury of the Wonderland trial. He eventually told them that he sent people to the house to retrieve stolen items, and may have led to violence. No one knows who murdered those people to this day. The house is still there today, and is up for rent for only $3,000 a month. Number 5. Sinha Family. Formerly named the Silent Movie Theater, the now named Cinefamily is known for its avant-garde programming, ranging from indie films to non-profits to old-school movies. Though, in the late 90s, however, it was home to a gruesome murder, in which a projectionist had the 74-year-old owner, Larry Austin, shot and murdered while the audience was watching a film. The projectionist was James Van Sickle. He and Austin had a shaky business and personal relationship. Van Sickle professed to be the heir to Austin's theater and all his old films. Van Sickle hired 19-year-old Christian Rodriguez to kill Austin. On January 17, 1997, Rodriguez purchased a ticket to view some short films. Soon after, he exited into the lobby, demanding to speak with the manager. Rodriguez shot Austin in his face, pointed and shot the young woman working the concession stand, then proceeded to shoot Austin's body several times. The concessions worker survived and testified against both Van Sickle and Rodriguez. Some say Austin haunts the theater alongside the original owner, John Hampden. Number 6. The Linda Vista Hospital. Built in 1904 by the Santa Fe Railroad Company, the Linda Vista Hospital was meant for its employees and was top of the line for its time. As the railroad lessened in importance and nearby neighborhood of Boyle Heights deteriorated, the hospital saw more and more victims related to gang crimes and drugs instead. With budget cuts and a slimming staff, the hospital finally shut down in 1991. Abandoned for so long, the facility decayed and rusted, home to stray animals and graffiti now. Urban legends include patients disappearing, being used for experiments, then disposed of, using the on-site crematorium. Another involves the hospital being haunted by a doctor who was murdered by gang members after he was unable to save one of their crew. Number 7. The Colorado Street Bridge. Known as the Suicide Bridge by 1932, the Colorado Street Bridge was built over Colorado Street in Pasadena in 1912. Over 100 people jumped off this bridge, many during the Great Depression. Many report hauntings around the bridge, misty figures, creepy and strange whispers and cries. Urban legend has it that one of the construction workers died during construction, his body imprisoned in cement. Another story involves one mother in 1937. Distraught by being left by her husband, she went to the bridge, tossed her toddler over, and herself right after. The child managed to survive by being caught in branches, only to be rescued. The mother did not, and is said to haunt the bridge, still searching for her child. In 2008, one man jumped off the bridge after murdering his wife, as well as her mother. Number 8. Paul Bern's House. Home to 1920s writer and director Paul Bern, this house has a dark and strange history involving death, murder, and hauntings. Paul Bern had a troubling life. He met his first love, actress Dorothy Millay, in New York City. The two had a common-law marriage, but Millay eventually became ill, ending up in a mental institution in Connecticut. Bern later fell in love with actress Jean Harlow and married her in 1932, buying themselves their house in Beverly Hills within Benedict Canyon. Months later, Bern was found dead, with a vague, frightful note left behind, an apology reading, "Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you, and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you. Paul, you understand that last night was only a comedy." Bern's current wife, Harlow, had no idea what any of it meant, and the police determined his death to be a suicide. Some believe, however, that his first wife, Millay, actually killed him, as it was known for Millay to come to LA to visit Bern. What was most strange was that the butler's first instinct after finding Bern's body wasn't to call the police, but to call MGM, where Bern worked. No one knows what happened between MGM arriving at the scene and the police arriving 2 hours later. Millay died the day after Bern, committing suicide by jumping off the Delta King steamboat while it was on its way to Sacramento from San Francisco, her body found weeks later by a fisherman. Screenwriter Ben Hecht wrote in a Playboy magazine article describing that Hollywood covered up his death, saying it was better for Jean Harlow's career if Bern committed suicide than if he was murdered for having been cheating on with Millay. Harlow died 5 years later from kidney failure. The house itself is home to more tragedy. In the 1960s, it belonged to celebrity hairdresser Jay Sebring. Sebring was involved with actress Sharon Tate, and even though she married director Roman Polanski, both Sebring and Tate remained good friends. In 1996, though, Tate was staying in the house and said she saw the ghost of Paul Bern wandering around at night, and a ghostly figure of a woman at the bottom of the staircase with her throat cut. Tate and Sebring were both murdered in 1969 by the Manson family in one of America's most horrific crimes.